Hello everybody, welcome to another Archetype guide for Arkham Horror the card game. I'm Justin, joined as always by Travis and Bryn, and today we're going to be talking about the Bodyguard archetype for the Guardian class. This one's great for me. I mean, I actually have played this Guardian class, but Guardians are the class I've played the least, so I'm going to let you guys do all the heavy lifting, and I'm going to come in with jokes and quips and just ramble on when I need to fill time. So, one of you guys, what is the goal of this archetype?
Do it, Brian. I know you're completely unprepared.
Okay. Well, when you're playing the Bodyguard archetype, your goal is to keep your team safe from damage and monsters. Done typically with assets that can soak damage, or by killing monsters before they get to play.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. It's like clues matter. You're a bodyguard for the other players. So let's see some notable cards that keeps your other teammates and even yourself alive. I'll take the first two here. Let me handle this. This is a way for you to kind of it's like the Guardian control over the Mythos deck. So if someone draws an enemy or a skill that like maybe requires a challenge that their stat is bad in and yours is good in, or as I said, an enemy, this lets you draw it, and then they don't have to worry about it. It's great for dealing with enemies because they are encounter cards. It's not treachery only, as an example here. Oh, they're treacheries, right? That's not Lord of the Rings seeping through into my brain. I'm playing so many of these card games.
Correct.
And it just gives you like an unexpected courage if it does have a test for that card. First watch is awesome. It's still all right at 2 players, but like in like a 3 or 4 player game, first watch is incredible. It lets you look at the number of X cards in the encounter deck, where X is the number of investigators, and you get to divvy out the cards, dealing out no more than 1 to each investigator other than yourself. So it's a lot of control over the Mythos deck, and when your Guardian does this, oh, it feels great. You just sit back and you're like, this is heaven. What does self-sacrifice do? I don't even...
Self-sacrifice may be committed to any type of skill test, despite not having any icons. And when you, like, only to another investigator skill test, and you take the effect of the fail, if they fail.
Also draw cards.
And then you get one of the two of you gets to draw some cards.
So you can see with these 3 cards of how that fits into the Bodyguard archetype, because you're making it so that your fellow teammates don't get cards that will hurt or hinder them, and like especially with enemies, it makes it so that they are your problem. They don't even need to worry about it. You are protecting them.
There's like a really silly thing you can do with this card, where the person who's gathering the clues on your team draws a card that does something bad to them for the clues they have, or they have to put them back, and you're like, no, it'll happen to me, but I don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the card doesn't gain surge because you have them.
Yeah.
But like, if we fail, what? I'm gonna put all my clues back on my location? I don't have any.
That's a neat little loophole that can exist.
Yeah, there's some cute stuff you can do with it.
What about Safeguard? What does that do?
Encourage. Sorry?
What does Safeguard do?
So Safeguard's like when an investigator your location moves, you can exhaust it, and for the remainder of this turn, when they move, you can move with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. It's really important because it allows you. It's actually very important this archetype because it allows you to spend your actions gaining resources and cards or fighting off monsters while still staying with your teammates. Like you're actually bodyguarding them. You're attached them at the hip.
Yeah,
you don't have to waste actions on that. You just go with them and spend all your time keeping them safe.
Of note, Safeguard does have a level 0 version. I'm putting the level 2 version here just because like it's the one you want to strive for in this archetype. Likewise, there are some like level 0 cards and the notable cards that have upgraded versions. I just grabbed whichever one I think was like relevant to the moment, or whichever one I just found. But they kind of like if there's an upgraded version or a level 0 version, they all work for the archetype because that's how this game works. Who wants to take some of these guys?
I'll do them. We got Righteous Hunt, I'll do the first two anyway. Rage Hunt and Get Over Here actually are very similar in that they both work. They're there in case you get separated from someone, or if you're playing with more than two people, you can kind of guard multiple people with them. The Righteous Hunt costs one. It's engage action, so you will take attacks of opportunity if you're already engaged to an enemy. But you choose an enemy up to 2 locations away, and you move to that enemy's location, engage it, and add blessed tokens to the chaos bag equal to that enemy's horror value. It's realistically going to be like, on average, 1.
Yeah, like 1 and change.
Yeah.
Unless
but still, it's just like
something really big.
Yeah, this card's basically like, it's just actually compression, right? You get to move through 2-ish locations, engage, so you're spending 1 action for like 3 actions, kind of. And Get Over Here does a similar thing where it's engage and fight action. You choose an enemy, a non-elite enemy at your location or connecting location, but this one brings the enemy to you. And then you get to engage it and attack it with your base stats, which is not great for some investigators, but this one's more about dragging enemies to you than it is about the actual fight action.
Yeah. Because you could use it if, like, your clue getter is in an adjacent location to engage the enemy that they're engaged with and then bring it to your location and then fight it. So you essentially spent 2 actions and didn't have to... And then you can even kill him if you don't kill him with this fight action.
Yeah.
Brother Xavier is a really sweet card. He has 3 meat and 3 brain soak that you can't really see because the set he's coming from covers it up. He also gives you +1 brain, which is really nice for defending yourself against the Mythos deck. But he can be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location. So he's like a nice battery soak for health and sanity for everybody at your location. And then when he's defeated, he deals 2 damage to an enemy at your location. Like Brother Xavier, he does it all in this archetype. He attack, he protect, he is wonderful.
He is actually a hero.
Yes, definitely. Stand Together, there's an upgraded version of this as well, where you're going to choose another investigator at your location. Both you and that investigator gain 2 resources, and I believe the upgraded version draws cards.
Yes.
You're going to be with your fellow investigators anyway. You might as well benefit yourself and them while making sure that they stay safe and healthy and happy. Brian, why don't you take these guys?
All right, we got Leadership. It commits for a wild symbol, but if it is being committed to a skill test performed by another investigator, it gains a wild and a brain. So if you're protecting someone from a test during the Mythos phase, this card is like Guts, but bigger.
Yeah.
You could even make like Finn Edwards pass a brain test with this card.
Wow.
Just a good way to stop him from taking damage.
I would actually put the level 2 version here because I think it's much, much better. The level 2 version gives them... It gives you, if the test is successful, you and the person that is doing the test each get 2 resources.
So,
and another nice thing about this one is that it is practiced.
A big thing as well for when I chose the cards, a part of it is also like to show, because I believe the upgraded version, it's from the starter decks, right? I believe... No, or is it from... Which pack is it from?
It's from Point of No Return.
So that is Dream Eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they come from all over the place. So like what we're going to try to do with this series is talk about where there's different cards of this printing that come in different levels from different cycles, because they're kind of printed throughout the whole thing. So this level 0 Dunwich Leadership comes from the Dunwich Legacy, and then Point of No Return is the Dream Eaters for the level 2 version, Travis, is that correct?
Yeah, it's level 2.
Yeah. So just a reference for there. And then going forward, I could, if we want, I could put multiples in. If people watching this video want me to put multiples in, I definitely can, because we can just put them on the slides and it's super easy and it might be better going forward. As we said, this series is kind of like we're going to see it grow and adapt and get better as we record it, just like we did with our investigator guides for new players. But yeah. Bryn, what about True Grit and Something Worth Fighting For?
True Grit and Something Worth Fighting For are each like half of a Brother Xavier. They soak 3 meat and 3 horror, respectively, and they may be assigned damage that was dealt to other investigators at your location. You might be thinking, but Brother Xavier is just better. Well, you're mostly right. these ones don't take up any of your slots, so you can have as many of these in play as you can afford to pay for, as well as they're level 0, so you just have them from the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And I mean, also, like, if your job is to protect other people, this essentially gives you six Meat Brother Xaviers and 6 Brain Brother Xaviers without the damage ability. And then Heroic Rescue also has an updated version, as a experienced version as well, that I think is also from the Dream Eater cycle. I'm just going to quickly look while Bryn talks about that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Heroic Rescue is a fast event that you can play when a non-elite enemy would attack another investigator at your location. Instead of it doing that, you engage that enemy and resolve its attack against you, then ding it for a damage. It is like a way that you can allow your teammates to just sort of go about their business without having to worry about the enemies that are in play. It's also a cheap and easy way to kill small enemies like rats or cultists if somebody else is drawing them.
So the upgraded version, it costs 2 experience. You can also move, so it can be a connecting location, not even at your location, it can be a connecting one. And you move to that location if you're not already there, engage the enemy, resolve the attack against you, then deal it 1 damage. Of note, this also is from Point of No Return. So if you're looking for this archetype and you're wondering what pack should I pick up from the Dream Eaters, Point of No Return seems pretty good for you there. Travis, why don't you take these guys?
Okay. Agency Backup is like the big daddy of the archetype. So, cost 7 resources and 5 experience, which is not cheap in any respect. But it's got that common phrase, they can take damage and horror for other investigators at your location. It's hidden by the set again, but it can take 4 hearts and 4 brains, takes up your ally slot. And then its other abilities are as a lightning bolt, you can exhaust it and deal 1 damage to it to deal a damage to an enemy at your location, or deal a horror to discover a clue at your location. This card is like as good as it looks. Assuming you can actually afford to play it.
Yeah, everything about this card is big and flashy.
Yeah, but like once you get into play, man, you're just cruising.
Yeah.
Oh man, so Travis, can you imagine the value that you could generate with calling in favors and 2 agency backups in your deck?
Oh my god. Yeah, next card is going to be Solemn Vow. This one's Myriad fast. Fast, you'll have to take an action to play it. Myriad, you get 3 copies of it in your deck. Cost 0 to play, it's level 0 card. This one's a little weird in that you play it under the control of a different investigator at your location as a lightning bolt. If the owner of Solemn, this is something that the person that you've given the card to can use. If the owner of Solemn Vow, so you, is at your location, exhaust Solemn Vow to move 1 damage or horror from a card you control to a card that investigator controls. This card's really nice to just retroactively take damage for your teammates. So you don't always have to be stuck to the hip with them. You can just kind of do your own thing if you need to and come back, and then they're like, man, I took like 3 brain damage from that test, and then you're like, that's okay, you can just drip feed it to me. You know, it also commits for 2 brains, which is always nice. Guts is a pretty good card.
Yeah, and of note as well that like a card that investigator controls is also their investigator card. Some people, new players might not know that your investigator card is a card you control, so you can put it on that. It doesn't necessarily just need to go on allies that person controls, or something worth fighting for, or True Grit, for an example.
Yeah, you don't just have to move it like off your agency backup back onto the investigator that you.
Yeah.
You can do other things.
Tetsuo Mori, he is an awesome ally. I believe he has 2 and 2, or is it 3 and 2?
He's 2 and 2.
2 and 2. He has that the word that the phrase that Travis says was so important to this one, which is maybe assign damage and or horror dealt to an investigator at your location. And then when he is defeated, an investigator at your location searches the top 9 cards of the deck or their discard pile for an item asset and adds it to their hand. So that's like a great way to not only protect your fellow investigators, but then also get a nice reward when this guy dies, which is like finding a weapon or an item that's relevant to you, or an item that someone else at your location might need. As you can kind of tell, as we've been talking about this, the Bodyguard wants to be with other people. You can't protect people when you're all by yourself, so you're going to want to stay close to your other players in this. Blackjack, there is an upgraded version. You're going to want the upgraded version. That's from the Return to Dunwich Legacy. It's a 2-cost item that allows you to fight. You get +2 for this attack, and if you perform the attack against an enemy engaged with another investigator, you deal +1 damage for this attack and no damage if you fail. So the +2 attack and the +1 damage does make this better, much better. In fact, if you don't, we have a video coming out tomorrow where we rank all of the Guardian assets, and we talk a bit about Blackjack there. So if you're just starting out, the Return to Dunwich Legacy isn't really recommended if you're like just starting the game. So if you do want to look at Blackjack as an option, this is like a weapon to attack other enemies engaged with other players without putting them in harm's way. Any other thoughts on Blackjack from you guys? Because it is a little bit of a tricky one.
One nice thing about this card is it also kind of saves you actions where it makes engaging enemies that your teammates are engaged with already. Like you don't have to engage them; you can just beat them with no repercussions.
Yeah, especially like if it's like a weak enemy, like a cultist or a rat, right? You have absolutely no fear if you attack the enemy with this. No fear. Dude, no, that's it. All right, synergies. So this archetype synergizes with the Guardian enemies and damage matters. Once again, as we are just going through the series, these videos don't exist yet. We're going to be talking more about these archetypes as we go through the series, and then look down in the description. There might be a link to these videos once we get them made in the future. One of you guys want to take the healing cards and why those are such a good synergy with this class?
Yeah, sure. So the healing cards are there to... Healing cards are less about healing investigators and more about healing allies. So cards like First Aid and... what's the skill that heals an ally?
Inspiring Presence?
Unexhausted.
Inspiring Presence.
Yeah, nailed it. Those are both very good to keep your allies that take damage for your teammates alive or get extra uses out of them for whatever they are. Yeah, it's just another way to undo damage. Also, you're going to be taking lots of damage and like maybe you don't want to die.
Yeah.
Usually a pretty...
for reference, Inspiring Presence is from the Carcosa cycle and the Pallid Mask, so it probably will be in stock eventually, unlike Phantom of Truth. And then Bryn,
No promises, though.
Do you want to take the last thing it synergizes with?
Sure. Our last one here is like a heavily invested clue-getting investigator. So somebody whose entire deck is about getting clues, getting them as fast as they can, and as many as they can. Mm-hmm. But they're not very good at other things. Because you just kind of hang out and you're like, oh, you can't fight this rat? That's cool, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, what did you draw this turn? It's all right.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm not gonna just let you die because then I lose.
Yeah, because then I do literally nothing.
Yeah.
So my new favorite thing to do is when I make these slides, I try to guess what investigator Travis built the final deck that we include at the end of each episode is. And this one, it's easy. I nailed it. Not a problem. It's Tommy Muldoon, the ultimate bodyguard. Travis, I'll throw it to you.
Boring.
Sorry?
So yeah, this one's like one of the more boring ones, but
yeah.
He's just so good at it.
Yeah, I'll throw it to you and you can talk about the decisions with this deck.
Yeah, so mostly this is a deck that like focuses on taking damage for your teammates as opposed to sort of a more traditional fighter Tommy, I guess, where you want to like you're there to kill enemies, maybe pick a couple clues, look what I found, and then like keep yourself alive with spiritual resolve. This one focuses a lot more. You can see under the ally suite, we got Agency Backup, we got Brother Xavier, we got Tetsuo Mori, all take damage for your friends. 2 copies of Something Worth Fighting For, 2 copies of True Grit, some all take damage for your friends. 2 Charismas ensures that you can just keep pumping out allies and just sit on them for as long as you need to. Rabbit's Foot is here because you don't actually have lots of stat boosting cards. And you're going to be failing tests fairly reasonably. Another reason is that there's 2 main parts of the economy of the game, which are resources and cards, and I guess also actions. But Tommy is weird in that, as a general rule, Guardians play high-cost cards that cost lots of resources, and they run them fast. Tommy recycles most of his assets that he plays, and very rarely runs out of money. So you're kind of gating resource there as your cards, and Rabbit's Foot helps you keep up with that.
Yeah, definitely.
This deck's only run 4 weapons. We got Becky, of course, because we need it. And then 2 Meat Cleavers, as, again, you're going to be taking lots of brain damage and for your teammates. And Tommy actually doesn't mind having lots of brain damage marked on him because he's got so many assets to mitigate it. So it's a pretty efficient weapon for him. And then we got the 45 on Mac, just as like another weapon. As we're not playing prepared for the worst, our ways to find our weapons are going to be just the Tetsuo Moris. Under our other assets, there's also 1 copy of the level 2 safeguard. Because, it's great. You just follow your teammates around. Got some emergency caches to give you a head start. Sometimes you're just running low on money, you need a little boost for the agency backup, your Brother Xavier or whatever. And then a big pile of let me handle this, first watch, heroic rescue, and stand together. Sorry, not the stand together. The other 3 was just let you take whatever the game's throwing at your team.
Yeah.
Stand together and leadership are there, give some resources to your team and support them as well as you. That's very important. And then just some misers, unexpected courages to like toss tests.
Yeah, no, it's Travis said, like, Tommy, it's kind of pretty boring and plain, but like you'll protect like nobody else can. Like,
yeah. This deck's not too fancy. It's just take damage.
Yeah. So you can check the description for the deck list. It will be there, and you guys can like and subscribe for more Archetype guides. And what Archetype do you want to see next? I have been reading the comments on our previous video. Thank you so much for all the support that you guys have given us so far. I do know that there's stuff asking for like Sealing and Doom matters in Mystic, so one of those will be next. I just wanted to get a basic Seeker and a basic Guardian archetype out, because those are, if you're just starting out looking for 2 archetypes to play, those work really well together. We do have a lot more to go, so keep shouting them out, because if there's any that aren't on the list, I will pitch them to Travis to make a deck list and a guide about as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. You guys have a good one, and as always, GG's.